Going to request K9 search of the vehicle.
The dog conducted a search and they located 7 half-pound bags of marijuana.
Street level wise, you're looking at $475,000 for the crop.
When it comes to the war on drugs, the growth of organized crime has reached far beyond its traditional stomping grounds. This is not Colombia. This is not Mexico. These police photos were taken in Canada. Over the last decade, drug enforcement officers have seen a dramatic increase in the amount of outdoor marijuana grow operations, especially in the province of Ontario, where warm summers, wide open tracts of crown land, and a large export market all add up to big profits.
Dealing with the outdoor marijuana grow operations, I call it an epidemic in Ontario. Over the last 5 to 7 years, our outdoor grow operations in this province have surpassed the indoor ones. Marijuana grow ops in this province is a multi-billion-dollar organization. The marijuana being harvested in Ontario, in many cases, is going south of the border, coming back into Ontario either as cash, weapons, or cocaine or other illicit drugs.
Profits are huge. $10 seedlings planted in the spring can net well over $1,000 a few months later in the fall. And these sophisticated criminals will stop at nothing to protect their investment.
The violence levels are definitely a lot higher, and it's the money and greed that keeps these organized crime individuals involved in drug activity. You have people that are going to their hunt camps and they're being accosted by individuals that just stole dope, and they're being shot at and they're being beaten. Our officers are, they're going into fields and they're approaching individuals that are arming themselves with Tech-9s and Uzis and shotguns and handguns.
National, provincial, and municipal police forces are all responsible for fighting this new epidemic. But the Ontario Provincial Police, or OPP, is leading the charge. The OPP's Drug Enforcement Section, or DES, is the province's lead agency responsible for drug enforcement.
We designate approximately 140 officers that are addressing this problem. While that sounds like a lot of police officers and we're happy to have them, we'd certainly like more, it's exhausting. It's not an 8-hour shift. Days are very long. 18, 20-hour days are not uncommon.
When it comes to shutting down the business of illegal marijuana, the OPP believes in using a multi-pronged approach. The Drug Enforcement Section uses intense training, high-risk undercover takedowns, evidence corroboration, and grow-op eradication to keep the pot off the streets and to pull cash out of the pockets of organized crime. Each year, the outdoor marijuana growing season lasts from late May to early October. But for these DES officers, the war on drugs is fought throughout the entire year. To intersect illegal marijuana at the street level, the OPP relies heavily on tips from confidential sources. When DES officers receive a credible tip from an informant, they must engage in what's known as a high-risk takedown, the surveillance, pursuit, and possible arrest of a drug trafficker.
Busy morning, early start. I received a call around 3:30, 4 a.m. this morning when I was sleeping. I got a page from a confidential source who I spoke to just shortly after receiving that page. It was information regarding a drug transaction, a drug deal that was going to be going down in the east end of Ottawa early this morning. So when I got up, I had to quickly scramble a team together.
Detective Constable Chris Dobler has assembled 2 uniformed officers in 2 marked vehicles, the K9 unit, and a team of undercover officers whose identities we can't reveal. High-risk takedowns are potentially dangerous and always unpredictable. They must be executed cautiously and methodically.
All right, everybody, thanks for coming out on such short notice. We just had a last-minute call from a source. We've got an individual from Toronto. He's driving a silver pickup truck. He stayed over in Ottawa tonight, or last night, I should say. The only description we have from the source information at this time is that it's a white male in his 30s, has shaggy brown hair, shoulder length. During the briefing, I basically gave them a summary of the information they needed. I don't provide all the information. Again, I don't want to compromise the identity or any of the information provided by a source. So I basically gave them the information that they needed to do their job that morning, depending on what their assignments were.
On this day, the cat and mouse game begins with discreet surveillance of the alleged suspect. First, undercover officers must confirm the accuracy of the informant's tip-off.
All right, 10-4 from everyone. We're just going to go position ourselves at the hotel to see if we can get observation of our suspect vehicle. And then everybody else, if you can attend your rally locations and staging areas, and then we'll proceed shortly. We had a smaller surveillance team. Essentially, their job is undercover. We don't want their vehicles or themselves being known.
Chris, you reading?
Okay, come on. Yeah, yep, go ahead.
I've located that vehicle there. It's sitting in the parking lot at the hotel.
We had somebody set up at the meeting location and the location that our suspect was staying at and going to be leaving from. That officer went and identified the actual vehicle in the parking lot, and their job on that morning was basically to watch the suspect leave the hotel, get into his vehicle, and leave the parking lot. The location that our suspect was staying was bang on from the source information we received, as well as description and vehicle.
And around westbound now, out of my sight.
Yeah, Chris, see him. He's heading westbound on Promenade. That suspect's vehicle is still heading west on Promenade and has just driven through an intersection. Our suspect vehicle just went through the intersection at Silver 7 and is still heading westbound on Promenade. And the suspect vehicle was confirmed by license plate. I was the in-between surveillance officer, so basically I took the suspect when he left from his hotel. I took him to the meeting location where the drugs were going to be delivered. Transactions, they can take place inside residences, buildings, but again, it is common for transactions to take place in public areas and public parking lots. I mean, it's out in the open. I mean, it's easy. It's always close to a highway usually. Yeah, our suspect vehicle just turned right onto Main Street, and we are now heading northbound on Main Street. We've got public parking lots on either side of us.
I've got your vehicle, Chris.
The brakes are on. We're just holding up for another vehicle coming the opposite way. And our suspect vehicle has just turned left into a parking lot. And I'm just going to continue on northbound on Main Street. Over to you, Steph, if you have it.
Yep, that's 10-4. I've got an eyeball on your suspect vehicle coming through the northeast parking lot.
Okay, heads up there, Chris. I've got a silver four-door, appears to be a Toyota Camry, just traveling towards your suspect vehicle. Stand by.
10-4, thanks. Uniform vehicles are in place.
Yep, that's 10-4. That vehicle is now parked. And I've got both drivers stepping out, Chris. Walking over to each other. A quick handshake, engaged in conversation. Stand by. Your second suspect, blue jeans, blue golf shirt, about the same height, brown hair, glasses, goatee. Just engaged in conversation. Stand by. I've got your second suspect back to his vehicle, door open. Suspect 2 to the trunk. Suspect 2 to the trunk. Stand by. Your second suspect now walking towards the silver pickup with a large duffel bag, black. And we have a drop. The black duffel bag is now in the rear seat of the silver pickup. Stand by. Door closed, quick handshake, and your second suspect is now walking back to the silver Camry. Both suspects now on board. Stand by. The silver Camry is pulling away.
(10-4), I'll get the license plate on that Camry.
10-4, I've got brake action on the silver pickup truck, and it is also moving. Your silver pickup is now coming out. It appears the same way he came in. Chris, stand by.
A lot of times things happen so fast that it's something that the public may not even be aware of, that these things are going on. I mean, it's something you have to be looking for to see. The transaction went down like clockwork. Basically everything that we knew happened the way it was supposed to happen. And that in turn gives our uniform officers the grounds that they need to effect a lawful arrest.
Actually, he'll be westbound. A pickup truck is stopped on Main Street.
Possession of marijuana. I don't get it, guys.
You're under arrest, don't move, okay? You have anything on you right now?
I got nothing on me.
Any knives, any weapons?
I got nothing on me. I got nothing on me. I mean, I already driving here in Ottawa, and all of a sudden I'm getting
possession of
arrested
marijuana for the purpose of trafficking.
I don't even know what that means.
I'll explain to you in the car. Follow me. You know this car over there.
Marijuana.
We generally have uniformed officers conduct the vehicle stops and arrest. And again, it doesn't leave any doubt for the suspect himself who's being stopped. Fully marked cars with roof lights and the whole bit. As well as when those officers get out, they're fully clothed in police uniforms. So again, there's no doubt on the person being stopped that they are actually officially being stopped by the police, rather than us using our vehicles where we're in plain clothes. We have plainclothes vehicles with no police markings, and the person was arrested by the uniformed officer without incident.
I'm going to request K9 search of the vehicle.
I'll read his rights to counsel.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just go start the search, and if he indicates on anything, I'll let you know.
I'll stay by the vehicle.
Once the subject was in custody, we just went ahead and conducted a canine search of the vehicle. The dogs are a lot more accurate than we are. That's why we use them. Their sense of smell is way stronger than ours. They work on scent recognition and reward. The dogs don't know they're looking for drugs. They're looking for a scent that will get them rewarded. And that reward is so important to them that they will work extremely hard to find that scent because they live for that reward. So in this case, once they find the scent, they're trained to indicate. And in my dog's case, it's a passive indication where he finds the scent, he sit, and when he sits, that tells me that he's found the scent he's trained for, then he gets his reward. We do get put in in some dangerous situations. But that's what we're trained for, and the dogs are trained to be in very high stressful situations, just like we are. Well, just like everybody else, we as officers judge the situations. If it becomes too dangerous for ourselves, for the dog, we have as much power as we want to pull back and reassess, and we won't put ourselves in extreme danger, nor will we put our dogs in a situation that's not safe.
Back.
Randy, copy?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we've got an indication here on a black duffel bag, orange lettering on the front. You can just come over here and have a look. It looks like a hockey bag, but just come over here and have a look at it.
Can we look inside?
Yeah, go ahead and have a look in the bag. We've got a passive indication on the bag. Okay. So just go ahead and see if there's anything in that before I keep going.
Yeah, Danny, do you read?
Go ahead, bud.
Yeah, there's several medium-sized Ziploc bags. Looks like dried marijuana butt inside the bag.
He's been read his rights to counsel and cautioned, and he's requested to speak to a lawyer, so I'm going to take him back to Canada for processing.
So I got some ID here too, so.
All right.
That's our man.
The dog conducted a search and they located 7 half-pound bags of marijuana in a black duffel bag. So each large Ziploc bag is traditionally a half-pound of marijuana. So we ended up getting 3.5 pounds of cannabis marijuana. So the information received from the informer was very credible. Dangerous? Nah, it wasn't dangerous. I mean, we felt safe. We never rush an operation. I mean, if from the get-go, I know we were scrambling because everything came in early, but I mean, safety is paramount. Our safety, the safety of the public, and as well the safety of the suspect. But today, again, dangerous? No. I was completely comfortable with the resources we had. Everybody was bang on with what they were doing. Everyone knew their jobs, and everything went down like clockwork.
The main focus of this high-risk takedown was the interception of the marijuana in an effort to keep it off the street. In this instance, the buyer was arrested on the spot, while the seller was allowed to leave the scene.
The individual, the suspect that took off, we ended up obtaining their license plate, Ontario license plate number. Our surveillance officers were able to get photographs of that individual, and once that person's identified, again, they'll be charged for the offense as well, again, because they're a party to that offense. The street value of the bust, it depends on the relationship between buyer and seller, other variants regarding street value, but I mean, you could safely probably say, I mean, $4,900 to $6,000, $7,000. As minuscule as it may seem, I mean, any amount of drugs that we can get off the street is definitely making a difference. And even if it's a small difference with one person's life, or I mean, on a larger scale, I mean, we make a difference within smaller communities or even large cities.
Members of the OPP's Drug Enforcement Section face potentially violent scenarios on a daily basis. So ongoing specialized training is crucial. They must be skilled in the use of deadly force in order to protect themselves from dangerous marijuana growers and traffickers.
Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to your firearms training. My name is Rob Spolster. For those of you that don't know me, I'm in charge of the training unit down in Aurora. I've been teaching firearms for 17 years. I love what I do, and it's my pleasure to be here to work with you. And that's what I do, I work with you. And I steal as many ideas from you as you're going to steal from me. So we're going to give you what we can, and we're going to ramp it up. It's not going to be standing here shooting dots. If you're teaching your coppers to shoot standing still, you're doing them a disservice. So you got to teach your guys to move and shoot.
The drug enforcement section carries out probably the most search warrant entries of any unit in the OPP, and we do them every day, every week. We're doing entries ourselves, and so this is just vital training for our members.
During a real firefight, an officer's resting heart rate can almost double to 180 beats per minute. In this highly stressed state, it becomes virtually impossible to aim a handgun by closing one eye. Here, officers are trained to fire instinctively, looking at the target with both eyes wide open.
I want all your rounds within this 12 by 18 square. That's where they have to be. If you miss, you're losing. So the target never lies. So keep your front sight and your vision, both eyes open, and look at what you want to hit. 5 rounds on the commanded gun. Stand by. Good. Guard, guard, look around, look around. Gentlemen, if you're missing, you're losing.
The shooting aspect of it, what we term as muscle memory, so the repetitive nature of the shooting prepares us for going into these high-risk scenarios where we have to revert back to our training.
2 steps forward and 5 rounds.
2 steps forward, 5 rounds. You have 10 seconds. Stand by. Good! Please move! Nicely done. All kinds of time left.
In drug enforcement, probably pretty much every member at some point in their career is going to be drawing their gun, probably more than once. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it.
Top your mags up, gentlemen. Can you do me a favor, spread that out a little more next time so I can count it easier? Good job. We're trying to teach these guys speed and accuracy, not having lots of accuracy and too much speed, or too much speed and no accuracy. We're trying to find a fine balance for each of them. Each shooter shoots a little differently, obviously, different body sizes, different setup, but we're trying to teach them that if you can balance that speed with accuracy, then you're going to be able to get the gun out fast enough to be in a position where you can shoot accurately with that speed. And that speed is paramount when it comes to keeping them out of harm's way. These guys and gals are put in harm's way every day if they're doing a door kick, executing a warrant. They're going into, for the most part, the unknown. And sometimes the intel isn't as good as they want it to be. Sit on your ass. Gentlemen, if you get pushed down or knocked down, it's one of the best positions to shoot from. Why? Because you're stable. 5 rounds, go. Hustle, watch your muzzle, let's go. Push it. There's 3 things we try to prepare them for: tactics, their skills, firearms, and then there's mental conditioning that goes along with that, which is difficult to teach. But these guys know where they are and what they're doing, and these guys love being out here because they know that what they're being taught is something that'll hopefully keep them out of harm's way one day. So, obviously we're throwing this imagination aspect in. You guys bust into a door, you breach, police search warrant, and there's a gun in your face. The most dangerous part of it is the muzzle. If it's a semi-automatic, 1 round's going to go off, and obviously more than that if you don't get a hold of that slide. So you want to hold underneath, and all I want you to do is press the trigger, okay? And while he's pressing, I'm going to smile because I know what's coming next. Go ahead. Press again. Now what am I doing? I got this grin on my face and I'm just filling him with everything. And now there's a fight for this. And he can't fire that again until what?
Clears it. He racks it.
Until he physically grabs the rails on the slide and pulls it back to chamber another round. So while he's clicking, click, I got that little grin and I'm filling. Because now, I'm not going to lose. It's either him or me, and we're not trained to lose. You get the idea? Doesn't hurt your hand, nothing. Okay? Go ahead, Rock. For the most part, the people that these guys and gals are dealing with, they don't have the morals, the personalities that cops do, where there's no police officer that wakes up in the morning and wants to go to work and shoot somebody. You've got criminal elements that they may have come from somewhere where that's a normal thing to do. So if you get an opportunity today while you're shooting, and I do it all the time, is I'll flip one ear off while I'm firing, just to hear that pop. So when it happens, I'm going to know what it sounds like, right? Grab the 3-meter line, time to ramp it up. There's way too much talk and not enough noise. Fast and hard, be accurate. Only shoot as fast as you can accurately hit. 2 to the body. Shooter, stand by. Good. It is safe. It is safe. 5 rounds. Good.
In today's drug subculture, criminals known as pot pirates sometimes raid the outdoor operations of other illegal growers, stealing their crop, and the huge profits that go along with it. These pot pirates are getting more and more sophisticated. They have even been known to wear counterfeit police uniforms while cutting down a crop. Growers are increasingly turning to the use of heavy firearms and booby traps to protect their investment from the pot pirates.
I've been a police officer for 23 years, and when I started, till now, it's only getting worse, it's not getting better. So we got to keep our guys up on what we do and give them everything that we can when we get the time to do it, to keep them safe at the end of the day. 3 things you have to ask yourself if you've got to shoot a suspect. Number 1, did I hit? Were my hits effective? Am I dropping blood pressure? Is he down? Is he wearing a vest? And do I require more is the 3rd thing you have to ask yourself. Do I require more? Is he still moving? And on top of that, is there another suspect? Do not be in a hurry to put the gun away. On the command of gun, we're going to turn, draw, fire 5. Once you fired your 5, stop and guard. 2 to the body. Stop, then scan again. Questions? Here we go. Gun! Gun! Keep moving. Keep moving. We're just trying to keep up with what's out in the street. The criminal element can practice anytime. So the more we get them out here, the better. Safe.
Detective Sergeant Paul Henry and Detective Constable Chris Dobler of the OPP Drug Enforcement Section are carrying out a drive-by of a suspected marijuana grow operation. A few weeks earlier, they received a tip from a confidential source about a former dairy farm that had been converted into an indoor grow op. Further investigation uncovered higher than normal electricity records, a telltale sign of high-intensity lighting commonly used in marijuana grow operations. A background check carried out on the new owner of the property revealed several past convictions in connection with indoor marijuana grow operations. The DES now has grounds to enter and investigate the property covertly in the hopes of further corroborating the existing evidence.
What we've had to do is do a drive-by of the property to further verify how we would enter onto the property. And the investigator actually today met with a judge earlier today and dropped off what we call a general warrant, or an information for a general warrant. And at 2 o'clock this afternoon he picked it up and it was signed. After looking at this, I think that probably our best bet is to go in along this tree line here We'd normally take a little bit longer to conduct the entire investigation, but we have ramped it up because the tipster called us again and has indicated that that the grow will probably be moved quite soon. It's either ready to be harvested or it is actually just going to be shut down and moved. The description of the property is just almost identical to what the source gave us.
An OPP specialized team will assist the DES with tonight's operation. Team members are specially trained to detect booby traps, snares, and other man-made threats, and if necessary, engage armed marijuana grow operators. They must remain undetected while clearing the way for an officer to take photographs of the suspect building using a forward-looking infrared thermal imaging camera, or FLIR. This special camera can detect heat sources commonly found within indoor grow-ops, like high-intensity lighting and fan-driven exhaust points.
So our operation here is going to be to enter the property covertly with initially with our two-man team to enter into the property, secure the site, and then call our FLIR operator up along with his cover man. This is where I'm going to be dropping you off here, just before the tree line right here. And so I'll maintain a position somewhere in this area. All right, let's go.
The stakes are high for the OPP specialized team. If detected, they will be forced to pull back, and the DES will be unable to collect crucial evidence. The crop could potentially be moved or harvested before they acquire legal grounds to raid the property.
Certainly there is an adrenaline rush when you're jumping out of the van and entering the unknown. You got to have that rush, and you got to learn how to use it to your advantage, and you know, stick to your tactics, but just don't let the adrenaline take you too far. It could overwhelm you and ruin an entire operation.
These operations can be extremely dangerous, so the OPP specialized team relies on extensive training. These officers are called upon frequently, usually on short notice, and they have to be on top of their game.
The number of times that we're being used, probably several times a month at least, especially in the summer and fall, probably 2 or 3 times a week, it seems. I suppose it has a certain element of danger to it, like anything that we do as police officers. The rifle I have in my hands right now is a C8 .223 caliber rifle, assault rifle, and it's our primary weapon on operations of this kind. You're very cautious about where you step. You got to go slow, just in case you do encounter a trap of some sort.
Typically for us, I mean, an operation would take place in the early morning hours. Obviously, with the information we received, there was basically a heightened sense of expectation that the crop may be missing or being taken off, and we wanted to be sure that we got in a little bit earlier. Primarily what we're looking for, obviously, I mean, anything that's going to compromise our safety or our mission. Probably our biggest concern is people out and about on the property. There's a certain element of danger that we always have to consider and train for and practice for and be prepared for, such as, you know, counter-surveillance techniques such as cameras or tripwires or things like that that may be set up to prevent us from moving in closer. So I think, yeah, a lot of our details, I mean, if you don't have danger or have your heads up or you be alert on some of these missions, then, you know, you're bound to fail. There's going to be trouble. Sometimes we find in particularly outdoor marijuana grow operations, we'll utilize some type of booby trap or form, not only to prevent the police, but also to prevent other people from entering onto the area where they have their grow operation.
The OPP specialized team has remained undetected. And the DES is now in the position to use the FLIR camera to collect the crucial evidence they need to help warrant a full-scale police raid on the suspect property.
What we had was 2 officers that were basically sent ahead a little bit of the FLIR operator and myself. Once it was deemed safe, then myself and the FLIR operator moved up into the position so we could do our work, our close recce in and around the location.
For my safety, for when I walk, when I use the device, because it is a camera and there is a screen on it, my night vision is affected. So for my safety, my fellow officer makes sure that where I walk is safe. And again, for my security, just secures me in the sense that if there's any neighbors in the area and the suspect comes out of the house, he provides me that support. So, I mean, I'm always comfortable and confident when we're out there.
Team leader from FLIR operator, we have a possible anomaly on the door side of the outbuilding, possible exhaust location. We'll investigate further.
We had an exhaust point, information of an exhaust point. So when utilizing the thermal imager, you could see a heat anomaly in the area of the side of the structure, consistent with a location where the indoor marijuana grow would be exhausted. All that hot air, that stale air has to be exhausted so that fresh air can also be brought in.
Team leader from operator at the side of the building. We have the odor of cannabis marijuana emanating from this exhaust point and the sounds of fans heard operating.
I went up to the side of the structure where the anomaly was observed, and I was able to detect the odor of cannabis marijuana, the fresh odor of cannabis marijuana consistent with marijuana plants, as well as the sounds of exhaust fans used to expel that air.
Our search of this location is completed and we'll slowly be disengaging from the property.
Excellent. We'll see you at the extraction point.
Roger, extraction point.
Although we were out early, the imager definitely picked up a heat anomaly, which was corroborated when we went around the building. We were able to detect everything that we needed. We obtained all the grounds that we needed, that in fact there was an indoor marijuana grow operation operating out of this location.
It was a very successful operation. We've certainly confirmed our suspicions and have corroborated what the confidential source told us. We suspect it's a commercial size marijuana grow, so we're pretty happy with the results. Everybody went in, got their evidence and came out safe and sound, and can't ask for anything more than that.
On this evening, members of the specialized team were successful in helping the DES officers collect thermal images. This new evidence must now be processed to help create a new warrant to raid the property. If all goes according to plan, this crop of illegal marijuana won't be hitting the streets anytime soon. The OPP's Drug Enforcement Section, or DES, has received an anonymous tip about the existence of an outdoor marijuana grow operation on Crown land in rural Ontario. Late yesterday, the tip was confirmed with a helicopter flyover. A large eradication team made up primarily of undercover officers from the DES has been assembled to raid the site and seize the crop. After another flyover, the helicopter will now meet the convoy at a predetermined staging area, not far from the remote grow operation itself.
We have a significant amount of intelligence that comes in from members of the flying community, private pilots, also just farmers, property owners, members of the public, and informants. They provide us with coordinates. We take a look at it, see what's feasible, determine the credibility of the intelligence, and then we'll schedule a flyover.
Okay, if you look right at the end of the swamp here, and then up into the green, you'll see a bunch of dead birch trees, and a funny green stuff in the middle there. That's all marijuana.
These plants, especially this time of year, are very easily discernible from the air because they have, as you can tell, they have a very deep, dark green color to them, and they're, once you spot them from the air, you're not likely to ever forget what they look like.
Our climate is suitable for growing marijuana plants outdoors. There's no overhead. The overhead is buying a place in rural Ontario, planting anywhere from 1,000. We've seen them as high as 40,000 in the province, and that's huge numbers. When indoor grows, there's overhead, there's electricity, there's the cost of wiring. Indoors also, you're in a community, you have to hide the grow and all the steps. So it's the criminal organizations have found it much more profitable and easier to go outdoors.
Because the marijuana is located in an area not accessible by any road, the team will have to be airlifted to the grow site from the staging area. Detective Sergeant Paul Henry briefs the eradication team.
Okay, you guys have had your formal briefing. I just want to make sure everybody's clear. The guys are going to go in and clear the site before anybody else goes in. Checking for traps, bear traps, spike boards, fish lines with hooks and all the regular stuff. So you've got your C8s and get in there and clear it before anybody else goes into the grow. And once you guys give us the all clear sign, we'll move in and start assessing what we have and take down the plants.
An OPP specialized team will assist the DES in executing today's eradication. For these specially trained officers, the initial approach to the grow-op is the most dangerous stage of the eradication. Marijuana growers frequently tend to their crops once every 2 or 3 days to make sure that their plants are safe and healthy. They also go to great lengths to protect their investment, which often can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Treacherous booby traps, guard dogs, or armed lookouts could be lying in wait for the eradication team. To ensure the safety of the team, 2 heavily armed officers are airlifted to the site first and tasked with securing the potentially dangerous area. The first approach to a grow-op is always a high-stress situation, but these highly skilled officers are ready for anything.
They're specially trained in order to come in and safely go through a grow in order to detect traps, any risks, or if they encounter growers on site that are maybe armed or even if they're not armed, at least they're trained in how to deal with the situation.
The first 2 officers report that the area is secure. The helicopter will now shuttle the remaining team members in for the eradication. The site is secure, but the team must stay sharp. An undiscovered booby trap could severely injure an officer. The growers could return to the area armed with weapons at any point. Officers armed with C8 rifles will stand watch from elevated positions around the perimeter of the crop for the entire eradication.
We've had incidents in the province before where innocent members of the public out ATVing or hiking have come across organized crime groups cultivating these grows. They've been held hostage, they've been shot at before. It's a danger for our officers as well. They'll go to means to protect their grows.
We've got a couple of guys maintaining observations to make sure that we're safe while we're in here harvesting these. So there is a possibility, and it has happened before. We've encountered people at the grow sites and usually arrest them on site, and we have encountered traps, of course, in the past. There's probably about 375 to 400 plants in here, and it's fairly well concealed. It's remote, and it's in a little bit of a basin here, a natural basin, natural water supply, and they've used a hybrid plant that's short and harder to detect, and they're all female plants, probably clones. They're started from clones, and probably capable, most of them are capable of a couple ounces per plant of finished product. So a fairly good cash crop in here. What's happening right now, it's a female plant, and it's trying desperately to be pollinated. Of course, there's no male plants around to pollinate it. So they just continue to produce that THC that everybody's looking for, or the growers are looking for, until they die. This is just one branch off one of these plants, and it's fairly loaded up with bud. And again, you can see it's these are all female plants. You can see the white little whiskers or hairs coming out of the cola or bud material. And that branch alone would probably yield somewhere between 10 and 15 grams of really high quality or fairly good quality bud material. And that's worth $150 on the street. These plants, they are almost like a weed the way they grow, but the thing is, the more you water them, the more healthy they get and the more they produce. So in the dry part of the summer, they really have to come in here every couple of days when it's hot and water them. And in this case, water supply right there all summer long probably, and they would just use buckets and dip pails of water and put a pail or two on each plant every few days in the summer when it's hot. In my opinion, I mean, in all the grows that I've seen, this is probably an independent guy, maybe one or two people, and this is a single crop situation. This is a manageable number for one or two people, and quite a tidy profit that they would end up with as a result of this.
If the criminals responsible for this marijuana were to be convicted in a court of law, they could go to jail for life.
We have 140 officers investigating. We just don't have the manpower or the resources to keep up with this epidemic. And sometimes we just got to come in and we got to eradicate it and get the drugs off the street.
It's been a crazy fall. One of the worst I've seen in regard to boldness with the growers. We're also finding that the people that are on these grows, that are working the growers, are oftentimes forced into this, or at least under some sort of duress. Either they owe a debt to an organized crime group or to some larger independent a boss that is overseeing these grows, and they have growers come in and work the fields, and they're not really too concerned about them being arrested or caught. And then I don't think they're that concerned about a few crops being taken off, because if a few make it through, they'll more than cover any expenses and make a substantial amount of profit as well. We're piling them up in the center here. We've got a net sling, we call it, that will pile it all on, and we'll get the chopper up and we'll hook the sling to it and sling it out of here to the trucks that are waiting closer to the highway.
After several hours, the marijuana was effectively removed without incident, and the helicopter begins the process of shuttling the officers back to the safety of the staging area. The criminals who grew this pot may never be apprehended, but this eradication will help to keep the marijuana off the street and keep the cash out of the hands of the criminals.
There's just shy of 500 plants. They probably started out with 500 plants. So you're looking at street level wise, you're looking at $475,000 to $500,000 for the crop. Be a good income for the year.
Criminals have no boundaries. Police have no boundaries. We must work as a team, and we do work as a team. We work on an intelligence-led model, meaning that we're talking to other police agencies, we're talking to members of the public, we're talking to everyone to get the information to battle this epidemic. In the OPP itself, the Drug Enforcement section talks to all the different units. We share information, everything to make us more effective and to battle organized crime. We have to stay on top of it, and we're doing that every day.
This marijuana eradication was considered a success for the members of the OPP's Drug Enforcement section. But it's also just another battle won in the seemingly endless war on drugs.